What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the DFS Dose YouTube channel. I'm Ben Hauver, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top DFS cash game plays for Week 6 on Draftkings. If you're new to the channel and like what you see, man, drop a like on the video and please subscribe to the channel. We're like 10 subscribers away from 300. It would mean a lot to us if you could help us reach that benchmark. Finally, if you want to support the show in a meaningful way, you could check out the podcast. We drop 2 episodes per week, one on Monday, one on Thursday. Those are free and available on all podcast platforms. We also have a free join Discord chat. The link to do so is in the description below. And lastly, we do a Saturday night live stream, usually around 11 p.m. Eastern on Saturday evenings, just to recap all of the final news of the week and give our updated thoughts and opinions on the slate, get you guys ready for Sunday morning lock. And without further ado, let's get into the top cash game plays for Week 6 on DraftKings. Starting off at the quarterback position, there are 2 standout plays in my opinion, and they are different price points. We've got Taylor Heineke at $5,800 and Lamar Jackson at $7,400. Because of the way that the slate is shaking out, I think Lamar Jackson is just sort of the clear-cut option. I think you play him and you just sort of set and forget, because at $7,400, he's just the best play in that range. Like, Herbert's good, Mahomes is good as well, but I do just prefer Lamar Jackson because of what he's able to do on the ground. He's still doing Lamar Jackson things. You know, I don't know what else to say, but he's out there. He's making great plays. He's running the ball over 11 times per game. It's a great game environment, high total, tight spread. There's a lot of back and forth potential, and Baltimore's defense has been super susceptible this year. So I think that Justin Herbert's going to put pressure on the Ravens to just keep the, pace up, keep the offensive environment strong. And we have viable value at both running back and wide receiver and tight end for that matter. So I do think that, you're not really getting much by saving going down to Taylor Heineke. It's a good spot for Heineke. He's been surprisingly reliable on the ground. And, with the Chiefs expected to put up a ton of points in this spot with the highest implied team total on the slate, over 30, I do think that there is going to be a lot of pass attempts from Heineke and the Washington football team just, sort of trying to keep pace. But because of the value, like I said, it isn't a stretch to pay up for Lamar at 74. I think you just play him this week and move on to your other positions. Speaking of moving on to the other positions, running back this week got interesting. Christian McCaffrey was looking like he might be the best play on the board, but he is ruled out as of Friday. So we have a lot of value in the 6K range. All 4 of these guys listed on the screen, and I think they're great plays. Joe Mixon, according to Zach Taylor, should get a full workload despite being limited in practice throughout the week. At $6,400, Joe Mixon going against this beat-up Lions team. Full workload per Zach Taylor, like I said. Samaj P. Ryan's out. He's not going to eat into any of Mixon's work. And I love this spot for Joe Mixon at $6,400. DeAndre Swift, yeah, he's going to be splitting touches, absolutely. But he just gets the valuable touches, right? And that's what we need to be seeing, is the valuable touches, the receptions, the work inside the 10. And DeAndre Swift has been soaking all of that up. So at $6,300, as long as he's in that price range, he's a viable consideration for cash every single week. Darrell Henderson at 6K, I think he's in a great spot this week. The Giants have an abysmal run defense. The Rams have a great team total. It's like 29. I think it's rising even beyond that. And it's a 10.5 point spread favoring the Rams. They should be in complete control this week. I know that Sony Michel did work his way onto the field quite a bit. He played 34% of snaps, but I do expect with Henderson another week removed from his injury, another week to get healthy, I think that he should be able to get out there, be back to a sort of 80 to 90% normal snap share and just dominate touches. At 6K, he's just flat out mispriced. The big piece of news that dropped this week at running back was that Nick Chubb would be ruled out. Kareem Hunt did return at $6,200. Kareem Hunt is probably the best cash game play on the board. He's already been soaking up a lot of the valuable types of touches. Like I said, with DeAndre Swift, we look for red zone work, we look for receptions, and Kareem Hunt has already had that even without the Nick Chubb injury. Now, in the games that Chubb missed last year, which there were 4 of, Kareem Hunt was averaging just about 20 opportunities per game, about 3.5 targets and 16.5 carries. I do expect the rookie Felton to be involved to a certain extent. Like, I don't think Kareem Hunt's just going to go out there and be playing 90% of snaps, but he really doesn't need to. I don't see him getting taken out in the red zone. It's just a great spot for Kareem Hunt. I mean, he's a stone cold lock, and it's really a matter of which of the other running backs you're going to play. Like I said, Henderson's in a great spot. I do like Mixon. I like Swift. And then Khalil Herbert at $4,600. It's just a tough decision on whether or not you want to play him, because, I mean, we saw a great workload out of him last week. On only 53% of snaps, he had 18 attempts for over 70 yards. David Montgomery is still out. Damian Williams was added to the COVID list. He's going to miss the game. So, I mean, they really have no choice but to lean on Herbert. He's never been a pass catcher, even going back to college. His best season in college was 10 receptions as far as receiving work goes. So, I mean, we just don't know if he's going to be utilized in that way. The Bears have shown a propensity to throw the ball to their running back. So, like, I do think with the only viable running back there being Herbert, that he does get some pass game usage. It's just really hard to project that since we've never seen it. But like I said, he touched the ball 18 times on 53% of snaps. And if he's out there playing, 80 to 90% of snaps at 4,600, I think it's really hard to get away from that. So right now it's just sort of a matter of figuring out what the correct lineup construction is going to be, whether getting those savings, getting off of one of Swift or Mixon or Henderson to go down to Herbert is worth it. Like, what does that do for your lineup? And what wide receivers are you going to be paying up for with those savings? So that's something that I'm still wrestling with internally, like sort of figuring out what I think the optimal move is, whether you're playing 3 6K running backs or 2 6K running backs in Herbert. I would really highly recommend coming back and checking in on the Saturday night live stream. We'll have a very clear and definitive thought process on that by the time that rolls around, just still sort of ingesting the news and figuring out what we think is going to happen, adjusting projections and stuff like that. So check that out on Saturday night. But right now, I mean, these are the players that you want to be considering at running back for cash games this week. Moving on to wide receiver, it's sort of tough again to figure out which one of these guys we want to play. Like, the top range is loaded. Devontae Adams did get priced up to 9K, which is a little bit better than 8,200, which, made him stone chalk last week. But because of the other value, I think that we're looking at another week where Adams is going to be really chalky in cash games at 9K. I like him a ton. I like Tyreek Hill. He missed practice on both Thursday and Wednesday. He did return on Friday. So, I mean, he's definitely going to be listed as questionable. But, I mean, I think that we expect him to play fully at 8,500. Tyreek Hill's in such a good spot. I mean, the Washington secondary is abysmal. They've been getting ran through all year long. And, I mean, they're just going to have no answer to Tyreek Hill this week. Cooper Kupp, because of his touchdown upside and just his chemistry with Matthew Stafford, is in play every single week at 7,900. I like him. Terry McLaurin was my favorite play all week, but he was added to the injury report on Friday with a hamstring. Never a good sign when a player gets added late in the week to the injury report. So Terry McLaurin, I mean, I would expect him to play. And at 7,100, I'm almost willing to embrace the variance because I think, like I said, Heineke's going to be passing a lot in this spot. No Curtis Samuel. Diami Brown's not 100%. Logan Thomas is out. It's like the targets have to go to McLaurin. He's seen 13 targets and 11 targets over the last 2 weeks, respectively. So, I mean, God, I love McLaurin this week. I just don't know how much the injury that, he got added to the report with on Friday is going to limit him. So that's something that we definitely have to keep an eye on. And then in this mid-range, I mean, there's just a bunch of viable plays. So it's going to come down to roster construction. I think which of these guys you're selecting, what you do, how you allocate your salary at the running back position as to what range you're in. Keenan Allen, 6,400. Mike Williams has been limited all week. And I said it last week and I'll say it again. Like, anytime you have the opportunity to play Keenan Allen, who's a good bet to see 10 plus targets every single week, it's a good game environment. Under 7K, Keenan Allen is just straight up always in consideration under 7K. I mean, it's really hard to fade a player like that at that price point. Marquise Hollywood Brown, one of the best plays absolutely this week at 5,900. I think more people are going to lean towards Pittman, Myers, Woods, and even Brandon Cooks in that spot. But to me, Marquise Brown is the best option sub 6K in this range, just because A, he correlates with Lamar Jackson, and B, he's just a lot more consistent than I think people realize and what the price tag indicates. He is getting a discount after a monster Monday Night Football game just because the salaries were already out. Like, I think that he would be priced at like 6,800 if that had already happened prior to the salaries being released. He's had 19 or more Draftkings points in every single game this year but one. And I mean, he's the wide receiver 6 in PPR on the season. He's like 2 drops in that Detroit game, which were like clear-cut, obvious drops away from being like the wide receiver 1 in fantasy. It's just a good value play at 5,900. I'm not expecting him to slow down. Rashad Bateman is returning, but Sammy Watkins is going to be out. So that just sort of balances things. I don't really think it affects Marquise Brown's target share or his usage in the offense. I expect Bateman to be used more in like a short and intermediate way, and Marquise Brown's role as the deep threat and Lamar Jackson's, favorite target remains absolutely secure. And the rest of these guys, man, they're all viable. Like, they don't really stand out one way or the other to me. I like Michael Pittman. The Colts have one of the top 5 implied team totals on the slate going against Houston. Pittman's usage and his underlying usage, his air yards, it's all been super solid at 5,500 against just, a high school level defense in the Texans. I like Pittman. Myers at the same price point is in a good spot with a tight spread in that Patriots-Dallas game. It's a high total. So we're going to expect it to be a little bit back and forth, or at least close enough that, Mac Jones is going to be passing the ball. Jacoby Myers 2 times in the last 3 weeks has had double-digit targets, and I said it on the podcast. I'll say it again here. I think this is finally the week where he catches his first career touchdown. So I do like Jacoby Myers. I just prefer Pittman a little more. So I don't think you're probably playing 2 of those guys, and you're definitely not if you're prioritizing Marquise Brown over them. So Myers would be sort of the odd man out here, but I wouldn't, shame anybody for playing him by any stretch. And then last but not least, if you do want to pay up for a running back, or maybe you want to pay up to Travis Kelce and you need to save some at wide receiver, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is the clear-cut standout option. TJ Hawkinson is not 100%, and the Lions are just beat up on offense. They really don't have anybody much, and there's been some promising quotes both from Dan Campbell and Jared Goff this week about wanting to get St. Brown more involved in the offense. Back-to-back 8-target games, back-to-back 13-point Draftkings performances, and he's done so without a touchdown. So I like Amon-Ra St. Brown this week. I think that he is a safe option to get you, about 13 to 15 points, 20 if he scores a touchdown. And at 4,200, he's viable. It's just, I think with the value at running back and tight end, as we'll get to momentarily here, it might be unnecessary to play Amon-Ra St. Brown. But then again, you could also go with a build where you play Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, and Devontae Adams. And I don't know. I mean, that sounds really enticing too. So another situation that after a little more time to digest the Friday news and play with projections and see what we think the optimal is. And we'll have a better idea of whether or not Amon-Ra St. Brown is a priority play or just a play that you would settle for based on roster construction. So yeah, man, guys, check out that Saturday night live stream tomorrow night. Finally, Travis Kelce, he's a great play this week. He's a standout play at 7K, but in cash games, I think it's pretty easy to just go with Ricky Seals-Jones. I mean, at 3K, you're getting just such a good, secure workload and a good matchup and a good spot where Heineke, like I've said a couple times, is going to be playing catch up with the Kansas City Chiefs. RSJ has basically absorbed the entire Logan Thomas role. It's great. He had 3 red zone targets last week, wasn't able to capitalize on any of them. Had he, I think his price would be a lot higher than at 3K, and the usage was great. 99% of snaps for Washington, 8 targets. Like I said, 3 of those were in the red zone, and he was just running routes on basically every drop back. He had 1 less route than Terry McLaurin and more than any other player on the Washington football team's offense. So RSJ at 3K, you pay down, you save some salary, and then you allocate it towards the more important positions. And I think that with Ricky Seals-Jones, it's kind of like it is with Lamar Jackson. It's a set and forget. You've got L. Jax at quarterback, you've got RSJ at tight end, and you're really just going to be working through different combinations of running back and wide receiver to see what you like most this week. It's an interesting week, man. There's still some stuff to be decided. So like I said a couple of times, if you're interested in our final thoughts on the slate, check back Saturday night. It will be on between 11 and 11:15 p.m. Eastern Saturday night to give our final thoughts. If you have any questions about cash games or just sort of the process, or you have a tight 2v2 you want our opinion on, drop a comment below. We respond to all the comments. So yeah, we'll give our thoughts on anything you got there. And that is going to be it for this week. We'll talk to you on the Saturday night stream. We'll talk to you on the Monday podcast, and I will be back for the week 7 edition of this video next Friday, man. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you then.